Welcome, everyone. The CDOs magazine series of one-on-one interviews with CDOs, data leaders, and key influencers. I'm your host, Robert Lutton, Vice President, Sandhill Consultants, and I'm coming to you today from Toronto, Canada. Working with the CDO magazine, the MIT CDO IQ Symposium, and International Society of Chief Data Officers. Today, we've got the pleasure of introducing John Bottega, who is the president of the EDM Council. Welcome, John.
Thanks, Robert. Thanks for having me.
I know that you're a big advocate for data literacy education and the fact that training needs to be enthused and infused into the data literacy programs. Can you maybe talk a little bit about that, about how you see this is a fundamental pillar of data literacy?
Sure. So the obvious is, education, right? But let me give you kind of a little bit of the lineage of this. I had the privilege of being one of the early chief data officers, dating back to 2006. And suddenly you're thrust into that role. You're sitting in the seat and going, okay, what book do I read? What paper? And there was nothing.
Yeah,
we were making it up. So several of us got together and said, we should try to document this stuff and memorialize it so we can actually capture best practices and good ideas and so forth. So in the course of that activity, a number of companies came together. We built that massive repository of information. And little did I know that in my career, as I went from working in the banks to coming to work at the EDM Council, I would be handed that pile of research.
I've seen this before somewhere. Right?
And now go make something out of it. So with my colleagues at the council, we turned that into the DCAM, the Data Capability Assessment Model, which is that Bible, if you will, of good data management practices and good data literacy. And in that experience, Robert, we realized, again, it isn't just the data people. Right? Everybody has to be trained, educated. So when you think about companies today, we all go through those, and I'm sure people listening to this interview are going to say, oh, I know what he's talking about. Those annoying annual tests that you have to take, how to protect
privacy, ethics. I know that. Yeah.
Well, it should be the same thing because it's a critical asset to the organization, right? People should know how it's there, what their responsibility is in managing that information. And why do I say that? There's so much privacy data now that we have our hands on. So it isn't just a nice to have tech guy looking at data. No, we have now almost an ethical responsibility to make sure that the data that we're receiving from the public is properly curated, properly protected, properly used. Because, you don't have to go far, look at headlines, how many times that data is used in an unethical manner or applied in the wrong way. So all of those, to me, are reasons why this level of data literacy is critically important and why you need education, training. College universities teach a lot of technology, but now they're starting to realize, hey, it's also got to teach the business side of data as well, which is the data literacy component.
And the soft skills as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
So you talk about, obviously best practices and benefits. I wonder though, in your capacity in meeting with these numerous organizations, whether you have kind of come up with your own checklist of challenges that you see organizations are facing when they go to implement a data literacy program.
I would say the biggest challenge is time and prioritization, right? We all have a day job. So what we see a lot is, great, John, good idea, but I don't have time to do X, Y, Z, I have to do something else. And there's also this misunderstanding that it takes too much time to do it right. And there are studies in this space that the amount of investment of X, if you don't do X, the redo is 10x, 20x, 30x.
I've seen that. I've seen that study. Yeah, if you don't get it right, and think in conceptual development production, there's a 10x or 100x, right? I've seen that chart, and probably still true to this day, right? If you do it, yeah.
I've seen where say the proper hygiene of managing a customer data asset set was not done right. So what happens now? It has to be redone, rebuilt. There could potentially be fines involved. When if they just spent the time to do it right in the beginning, they wouldn't have incurred that. And that again goes to culture. There has to be a recognition that that investment of education, data literacy, proper design, in the long run, pays back in spades. If you do it, if you don't do it and you end up having to chase after all of the errors you've made, and trust me, Robert, I've spent 30 years in this space. I've made more mistakes than people have done it right.
That's right. I know. Well, I think wasn't it Babe Ruth said that he struck out more times than he hit home runs, and you just got to do it right. So time, priority, and culture. Let me ask just the reverse of that question. If you can see the challenges, surely there's got to be a business benefit in investing in an enterprise data literacy for the organization. In your opinion, what are the business benefits that a CDO data leader could hang their hat on and say, this is why we need to put an enterprise data literacy program together?
So I can give you the normal list of, efficiency, cost save, and all of that stuff. And I'm not downplaying that. That's important. No. But the job of selling those concepts falls often to the chief data officer, the CDO. And what's really critically important here is, Robert, I've done presentations where I had a slide that showed the ideal chief data officer was an empty chair.
Right.
And it was get
out.
Not
a lot of our CDOs want to hear that, but go ahead. Yeah, empty
get
chair.
Out of the office, right? Go sit with the business. Go sit with the operations people. Understand what they're doing. Demonstrate the value of good data hygiene and the benefits to business. And then we as a profession, I've always said this, we're really bad at PR. We don't sell ourselves well, right? We often have to take the brunt of a mistake, but never kind of
right.
celebrate our successes.
Right.
So I often say this to people who are up and coming CDOs. Hey, if you've hit that home run, tell people about it. Show them. Use that as a demonstration of if you do this, this is the success. For example, when I was CDO of one of the banks, we had the high net worth customers, and then we had the regular banking business and so forth. And what we recognized was, well, high net worth customers are in organizations. Why don't we cross sell? How do we cross that data so that the people who are supporting the corporations can also sell to the individuals? Simple concept, right? But we were in siloed environments where data was not, So all we did, and it wasn't rocket science, was we just cross-referenced that data. And it opened up a whole new world of business opportunity. So it's taking those types of examples and just constantly saying, look, these are the benefits. This is why we save costs. This is why we increase revenue, why we become more competitive through real examples.
Excellent. And John, where did time go? On behalf of the CDO magazine, we'd really like to thank you for your time today. We really appreciate it. We hope our listeners do. And we hope that we'll get the chance to come back and have you share, you and the members of the council share more of your knowledge and experience of what's going on with the EDM Council and in the future with the team.
Robert, thank you. And you don't have to ask me twice. I'd love to come back.
We do appreciate it. And for our listeners, please visit cdomagazine.tech for additional interviews. Thank you.